I think the punishment was weak as fuck. He can still practice during the week, and I know we've already had this argument. I don't think him not being on the sideline is a huge difference.
I
So
don't think it's a huge difference, but
I don't either, and it was evidence last week.
They prematurely suspended him without completing the investigation.
They prematurely fired the guy, and they didn't let him prove his case if he was innocent either. So they did the same shit.
It's the same. It's the same.
That's up to Michigan though. They can fire whoever they want.
Because he cheated. Because they caught him cheating. Because the Big Ten caught him cheating, and then Michigan said, "Oh yeah, you're right. Let's fire him, so we're not looking bad." They tried saving face. That's what they did. And it took 3 weeks to do it too, by the way.
It's the same thing as if a cop gets in trouble, they suspend him with pay. He's not allowed to work the job, and they do the investigation. That's exactly what they're doing at Jim.
All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Chris Meinhardt, Luke Rule, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Welcome to All About the Balls podcast. I'm Mark Davis with Chris Meinhardt, Luke Rule, and of course Nick the Doc Skirkowitz, and we are in the Sack House. We're here to talk college football. Might even throw a little sprinkle of Deshaun Watson news from the NFL. But Chris, we want to say a big welcome back to you. Also, big win for LSU last week over the rival Florida Gators. We love to see it in the Sack House. Jaden Daniels has a pretty easy game this week. Hopefully his stock for the Heisman goes up. We all believe he should be the Heisman winning quarterback. How are you feeling this tonight?
Yeah, it's always great to beat a Florida Gator. So excited about that. Five straight. So, I mean, they don't really have anything with us right now. But yeah, Jaden Daniels balled out when he needed to. He had stat booster this week against Georgia State. But it is what it is, you know.
First QB.
Georgia.
Hey, but against Florida, first QB with 300 passing yards and 250 rushing yards in a game. Any QB in history.
I know, making history.
Isn't making history.
And he did the little Heisman pose, so we'll see. He didn't want to. His teammates made him do it. But
he should be the Heisman winning quarterback. Based on what we've seen, some of these other quarterbacks that have won it, he rightfully deserves it.
But I agree. Just sad that fucking LSU's defense pissed this great offense away.
Indeed, they did. And Luke, UCF, you called it. You didn't call the big blowout it was going to be, but you called an upset, and that's all that matters. UCF went in their space uniforms, now 7-0, and they beat Oklahoma State, like I said, 45-3. You're one win away from a bowl game. Your first year in the Big 12. How are you feeling as you guys have to play Texas Tech in Texas Tech?
Feel good. Yeah, I mean, we finally looked like a complete team last week, and it just going in being the number 15 ranked team in our home. So it was big win. So showing we can compete in the Big 12. About time we look put together. I mean, the rest of the season hasn't looked great for us, but one game away from being bowl eligible. So first year in the Big 12 bowl eligible will be pretty big for the program. We're just moving on up. I like it.
Moving on up, and speaking of moving up, we think Florida State eventually will move up because Michigan and Ohio State have to play each other. Florida State, Doc, number 4, still third week in the rankings that have come out. You're still consistently at number 4. You play a tough Northern Alabama this week. There is no spread right now on ESPN. I can't even see a fucking spread, and it's such a good game. It's on the CW network. How are you feeling coming into this weekend?
Dude, I am getting cable as we speak just so I can catch that on the CW. I mean, you got to have that channel in your lineup. But, no, I mean, going to be a cupcake, as long as we win by 25. I don't think we go anywhere. And, just waiting for Michigan or Ohio State to lose so we can slide up there. Hopefully it's Ohio State.
Yeah, well, I hope Ohio State wins, actually. We'll talk about that again. I know we didn't get your opinion last week because you're out. But close game, by the way, against the rival Miami Hurricanes. It was a respectable game. Miami kept it close, 27-20. So rivalry games, though, we expect sometimes to be close. So I don't think that's a knock on Florida State. I know people were hating on the win, but I thought it was decent.
Well, and honestly, I mean, Miami should be a better record than they are. We all know the fumble instead of the knee. Obviously, they should have one more win than they do. I mean, Miami's got a good team this year. They don't have a great team. They started out ranked, and they've had some struggles this year, but we're seeing that across college football, in my opinion. But They definitely have a respected team. They definitely have a team that you cannot just walk in and expect to beat.
Defense definitely respectable. Offense it's like a roller coaster ride. You don't know what part of the roller coaster you're on when you're playing them, but good win, Doc. And Texas, like you, we've stayed at number 7 all 3 weeks for the college football rankings. We have been slotted there the whole time, and yes, we did survive another week. We moved on, but bad news: Jonathan Brooks, our star running back, he's out for the whole year, the rest of the year, possibly next year too if he comes back, tore his ACL. So that's a huge loss for the Longhorns. He was one of the most consistent probably weapons we had going for us, and now Quinn Ewers definitely has to step up. The running back by committee is going to have to step up. Quinn Ewers is going to have to shake off that shoulder. I know he didn't really throw the ball much in the fourth quarter and at the end of the third quarter. So I think Sark needs to get Quinn Ewers some confidence back, and he needs to start throwing the ball pretty good because no running back there. That's huge. That's huge for the Longhorns. But, hey, we are winning, and that's all that matters at the moment. So 1 week at a time. And then we have to play Iowa State. I don't like the game. It's in Iowa State at night. That's a dangerous place to play out there. So just got to play good football. But, boys, the college football rankings are out. Like I said, nothing really changed. The top 8. The only thing that really happened was Georgia flipped Ohio State. Ohio State is no longer number 1. So followed by that, we have Michigan, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, and then 2 new teams. Missouri climbed their way up after blowing out Luke's Final Four team, the Tennessee Volunteers, and now at number 10, Louisville, as they're making things possibly interesting as they are 9-1, and they have a date eventually set with Florida State in the ACC Championship in Charlotte. So how are we feeling about the rankings, boys?
I think they're spot on. I think Georgia deserved to be number 1. When you talk about the performance last year, and the team I think is still, it's obviously not the Georgia team that it was last year. That defense is still elite. When everybody was calling into question how good the defense really is, they absolutely put a pounding on Kentucky last week. So I like that they got moved back into their rightful spot. I haven't seen anything from them that said that they're not still the reigning team in the NCAA. And to be honest, fuck Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? I hate Ohio State. They can Georgia drop out of the rankings. I don't give a shit if they're undefeated.
Yeah, Georgia's massive win over Ole Miss put them back at 1, and I think rightfully so. You
did
just
I say
went
Kentucky?
In. You did. Same thing.
I meant Ole Miss. But they did blow Kentucky too.
Yeah, they blew Kentucky too. So, but I think it's right. I think it's spot on. I still think maybe Michigan should be higher. I get they haven't played as much elite competition, but they have looked great all year. I get it. They have a scandal going on, but just judging what we've seen, I think Michigan has looked better than Ohio State. I get it. They played Notre Dame and Penn State, Notre Dame and Penn State. But the committee didn't. They came out and said it's eye test. It hasn't been resume that they're looking at. It's been what they were looking at on the field. So if that's the case, I think Michigan has the right spot to be number 2. Now, it doesn't really matter. They're just going to play each other out. They have to play each other anyways in 2 weeks during Thanksgiving weekend. So that eventually will be settled on the field in a couple weeks.
Yeah, either one of those teams will be number 2 after they play each other. So it is what it is for them. It doesn't matter. One of them is going to drop out top 4, and the other's going to stay in.
And I think it's funny. People keep saying, like, oh, Florida State has to play good. I'm like, what do you mean they have to play good? All they have to do is win, because you're not going to put them out of the top 4 if they're undefeated. So what do you mean they have to be playing good? Like, if they just win, they can win by 1 point every single week. They're in the fucking playoffs. I don't get why people keep saying that.
They just can't be sleeping on Florida, going into Gainesville and beating Florida. Florida's going to be on they're going to be trying to fucking upset them, because it's the only thing they have to play for.
I'm not worried about Florida. I'm worried about Louisville.
Well, unfortunately, I have to root for Florida. That's like
and
the
UNC.
One game of the year. I'm a Gator fan for the week. I'm going to be wearing some blue and orange on Saturday.
Yeah. UNC just lost.
You and I ain't talking that week.
If you ask me if Texas is not in the playoff hunt, I'm going Florida State all day. But I need chaos. So I think Florida State wins the game.
Who
but
are y'all playing this week?
You can't play in Iowa State, and then we play old Texas Tech.
Kansas.
I'm buying a fucking Iowa State uniform that makes me look pantsless in my living room.
The thing is, us winning out doesn't do anything to you guys. We need the chaos. You guys just have to do your job and just win. We need teams to lose.
Yeah, but if you lose and we lose, then I'm just as good with that.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you lose and
that's
we
fine.
lose,
that's fine. You don't.
Then we're gonna.
That's all. At this point, you got to disrespect my Seminoles. That's all I care about is you lose.
Well, then guess what? We'll get Michigan and Ohio State in the playoffs together. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, fuck them. You know what, Mark? You know what? I'm actually going to root for Ohio State over Texas. That's where you've just driven me.
I mean, you live damn near close enough to Ohio State territory. It does spread out to New Jersey a little bit, so I understand that little Ohio State.
No, it doesn't.
There's a lot of
people
Ohio
are
State
surprisingly. No, Geary, that's it. No, people are surprisingly big Rutger fans out here.
I've been to a Rutgers and Ohio State game. A lot of Buckeye fans, more than Rutger fans there.
Yeah, they make the trip. Yeah, they make the trip.
It's a pretty far travel just to go to a Rutgers game. It's not like they're playing Michigan or Penn State or even like Iowa. They're playing a garbage school. Back to when they were playing them. That was a couple years ago.
That's why you travel for that one.
No, you don't need fans for that one to disrupt Rutgers. But no,
it's like when I used to go to Marlins games down in Florida, and there'd be like 4,000 fans in attendance, and 3,000 of them would be coming off the bus for the Mets or for the Cubs or for anybody else.
Well, because those fans do live in Florida, so that's Florida is different than
buddy. That's what I meant by when I said they get off the buses. They announced they were bussing down, like they had signs and everything. They bust from like New York and Chicago.
But no, Chris, I want to get your opinion on the rankings though, real quick, before we get what the committee chair had to say about what matters to the rankings.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio definitely deserved that number one, that dominant win over Ole Miss. Ohio, Michigan, they're
Georgia.
Still just like, Georgia, sorry. And then Ohio and Michigan, they're still kind of like, I mean, yeah, Michigan's have had dominant wins. Ohio had Penn State and
Notre Dame.
What was the other one? Notre Dame. When Notre Dame's clearly not the Notre Dame we thought they were. Well, at least I thought they were.
Yeah, I was about to say Notre Dame is exactly who we thought they were.
Yeah, but I mean, both wins with Ohio State and Michigan against Penn State were pretty similar. I mean, Michigan 24-15, and then Ohio was 20-12. So I mean, both of them played Penn State pretty much the same. So it's hard to rank one of them over the other, given what we've been shown so far. And like you said, Mark, we're about to find out which one's the better team.
I think they need to open up the season and get that game out of the way early.
It's rivalry weekend.
They did this.
You ain't doing that.
I know, but they did this shit on purpose. They're like, let's bring 2 10-0s in here for this game and see what happens.
Yeah, they do it every year.
Well, they just have to win out. Like, I mean, if they lose, I mean, that's on the other teams beating them. Now, Michigan gets fortunate; they really haven't had out of conference schedule the last few years. Now, next year, I'm not saying it because it's my team, but they finally play a team that's not fucking like some like no name Power 5. They are playing Texas. It is home for them, so it's a big game for them at least. Where it's not, hey, we're playing like fucking Stanford or some shit like that. They're playing like a known team that's been decent, like at least in the last year or two. So. They finally have a schedule.
Harbaugh's going to be gone. All the players going to be gone.
Depends on what comes out with that.
Yeah.
Harbaugh
You're getting a different Michigan team next year. I think they're all in this season.
Harbaugh
fully expecting Michigan to already come up with excuses if they do lose against Ohio about how Harbaugh's not on the sideline.
Well, let's talk about
Where's
that.
Where's that game at?
At Michigan.
It's in Michigan.
Was Harbaugh? How long was Harbaugh suspension for?
For the whole regular season.
Yeah.
He came coach for the Big Ten champ. So if they beat Ohio State, he's in the Big Ten championship game, coaching in the playoffs. If they make it.
I don't know. The tiers in that interim coaches.
His hearing. So he's going in person for the hearing on Friday.
I don't know. The tears in that coach's eyes after Michigan's win last week, and Michigan still did that against Penn State without Harbaugh. I know Ohio State is a more elevated team than Penn State, but they still came in, won a huge game against Penn State without Harbaugh. I think they'll be all right. Harbaugh's still going to be given all the tools that they need. He just can't be on the field. And if your coordinators are making the play calls anyways, who gives a shit?
They didn't even suspend Harbaugh until the team was on the plane flying over. So it's like they had to wait till land. Yeah, they did. They waited.
I don't feel bad for Michigan. I really don't. Boo fucking.
Could you imagine getting off the plane and you turn your phone
cheated.
back
I mean,
on?
what more do you want? I mean, you guys cheated. Like
turn your phone back on, get service, get off the plane. You're like, well, shit, guys, made the trip for nothing.
Go ahead and punish the team before they finish the investigation. That's how it works. You just put everybody in jail before they're fucking.
Why'd they fire the guy then? Oh, because they knew he cheated. Because they knew he was recording. So the program fired the fucking guy that went apparently rogue. So they knew he was doing it.
They fired him because they found out he was cheating.
No,
not they knew. They found out.
So that means they are cheating, though.
Come on.
That means he's cheating,
Hey,
which means
AJ Hinch
stealing the
found
team.
out, okay, and he suffered for it.
Hey, so guess what? Big win for the OC, and he's apparently a hot name that before this game he coached, he was going to be a hot name for the coaching job, and good for him. He did a good job coaching. He stuck to his guns and ran the ball in the second half. They didn't throw a single pass. Big win. But don't sit here and act like you're the fucking victims in this goddamn country. You guys are the villains in everyone's story. You guys cheated. You cheated out the last 2 seasons, potentially. That's what it's looking like.
Is rigged.
So guess what? It's not rigged. They got caught cheating, and you have to pay the punishment. Now, this is not even a big punishment. You're missing 3 games. Oh, guess what other teams do?
Because they weren't expecting Michigan to beat Ohio
guess what
State.
Ohio-
Michigan looks like they're going to beat Ohio State.
Hey, Luke, guess what happened to Jim Tressel when he decided to dip out and he fucked Ohio State? They got a bowl ban. They got a bowl ban, and Urban Meyer was undefeated his first year.
Okay.
Best team ever had at Ohio State and couldn't coach in the championship game.
When they got a bowl ban, was the
who fucking
investigation
knew?
done? Was the investigation done? Because it's not done right now. And so they're going to hit him with double jeopardy now. You can't fucking punish somebody twice for the same thing.
Well, they can because the NCAA hasn't stepped in. The Big Ten, the Big Ten has nothing to do with the NCAA. The NCAA can do what the fuck they want.
I've seen-
Like,
I've seen
that's not
rumors
double
like
jeopardy
a 2-3 year bowl ban too.
because it's not double jeopardy. He still can coach when he's suspended or when there's a bowl ban. You can still coach. There's no double jeopardy.
No, but he said it's
There's no
double jeopardy.
No, you're being punished
not,
twice
though.
for the same thing.
He's not.
He already
It's
got
not. It's
punished.
not. But it's not him being punished. It's the team being punished. There's a
The
difference.
whole team's being punished. Yes, yeah.
Jim got
Oh, yeah, they can still
suspended.
punish
Jim
everybody else,
Jim got suspended.
That doesn't affect
Michigan.
the team at all.
Obviously
it doesn't.
not.
I think the punishment was weak as fuck. He can still practice during the week, and I know we've already had this argument. I don't think him not being on the sideline is a huge difference. So
I
Hey,
don't
and
think
that's
it's a
you-
huge difference.
Hey,
But
I don't either, and it was evidence last week.
they prematurely suspended him without completing the investigation. So
They prematurely fired the guy. Then they didn't let him prove his case if he was innocent either. So they did the same shit.
it's the same. It's the same. It's the
That's up to Michigan though. They can
It's-
fire whoever they want.
Because he cheated. Because they caught him cheating. Because I'm sorry,
Okay.
the Big Ten caught him cheating, and then Michigan said, "Oh yeah, you're right. Let's fire him, so we're not looking bad." They tried saving face.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
It's-
And it took 3
it's-
weeks to do it too. By the way,
It's the same thing as if a cop gets in trouble, they suspend him with pay. He's not allowed to work the job, and they do the investigation. That's exactly what they're doing to Jim. He's suspended. Well, yeah, exactly. I don't think the punishment's big enough. If the Big Ten wanted to lay a dick down, they should have suspended him away from the team.
and ask
It's
Chris about
bullshit
being
that he
having a
can
coach.
post.
Ask Chris about coach being suspended for a year because he said he didn't know anything about the bounty gate. His coach got suspended for a whole fucking year. And guess what? When you're the
AJ
head
Hinch
coach,
got
you're
suspended for a year,
Hey,
and he didn't know about the trash cans.
Alex Cora did too from the Red Sox. He got suspended for a whole year, came back after that year's suspension. Guess what? When you're the head coach, you're responsible for anything that happens inside that fucking team. That is your responsibility. And we say it all the time. His team got caught. He's lucky there's no bowl ban because guess what you did in 2021? You fucked the Fighting Irish over. They were the last team. They were the first team out. They had one loss. And if Michigan doesn't get caught cheating, we don't know if they beat Ohio State or you fuck over Ohio State. You fucked over teams. That's what you did. You fucked over teams 2 years in a row. And now you're potentially fucking over Oregon, Alabama, Texas. You're fucking over possible teams that have a shot to make the playoffs because you got caught cheating.
Texas never had a
No,
chance
it's
to
not.
make the playoffs before this year. Stop getting mad about Texas.
I'm not saying
it's
it had a shot. It's currently what's going on. They're in the running, right, with Alabama and Oregon. And if Washington loses,
Texas
they
still
can,
ain't got a shot,
Doc,
dude.
it's just not about what you're a little fucking trying to take shots. It's about an actual truth. They're in the running right now. If they're the first team out or the second team out, them and Washington and Alabama and Oregon, they all have fucking gripes to deal with Michigan. It's not just Texas. It's 4 other teams that have a shot to make it too. If they get in for cheating, that's bullshit, and you know that. If Florida State was the first team out, you'd be pissed if Michigan got in because they cheated.
I say hold the bowl ban until they beat Ohio State. Let Ohio State move down. Put the bowl ban on. That way they're both out, and then we're good.
They could both still go out if they beat Ohio State the last week. Ohio State's not guaranteed to get in. It's just Michigan's not guaranteed to get in. They cheated. You have to pay the punishment. They fired their fucking guy that went rogue. They know he was doing some shit that wasn't supposed to happen. And I get it. Teams cheat all the time. If you get caught, though,
I don't
there's a punishment.
understand how you attribute he got fired because they knew he was doing it.
Why'd they fire him then?
Because
They
all
wouldn't
this came
fire-
to light, and they're like, "Hey, did you do it?" Or evidence shows that you did it, so they fired him. It doesn't mean that they knew he was doing it. It doesn't automatically mean they knew he was doing it.
But the team cheated. It doesn't matter who knew. The team cheated. The whole fucking team cheated. They were using his illegal fucking electronic film to fucking study for teams. That is against the rules. That's plain and simple. I don't give a shit if Harbaugh knew or not. You're the head coach. You're responsible. Sean Payton got suspended for a year. He did not know anything about it, he said.
I get it.
You're sticking up. You're saying, well,
Texas still ain't making the playoffs.
Okay, good, Doc. And neither is Florida State when Louisville beats your ass, and so does the Gators. So I don't want to hear it. Like, you can sit here and take shots. You can sit here and take all your shots all you want. It's not about Texas. We could not miss it, or we could not make it. You still fuck over potentially Alabama and Georgia. If Bama beats Georgia and Michigan beats Ohio State, they shouldn't be in still, and that fucks over now 2 teams right there as well. You fuck over one lost Georgia.
No, jokes aside, I agree with you, Mark. Jokes aside, I agree with you. I had the same reaction with AJ Hinch and the Cheat Stros. I agree with you. Calm down. Calm down. It was a joke, and you didn't take it very well, Mark.
They are a joke for saying that they're the victims, though. That is bullshit. That is the bullshit. They act like they're the fucking victims. They're the ones that got caught. And then they try and call everybody else. Okay, well, if teams get caught cheating, guess what? Fucking ban them all. Ban them for a couple years. They'll learn their lesson, or hit them where it hurts the most. Take away their fucking scholarships. Take away those. Take away something.
It's hard not to believe that Jim did not know that this was happening in his locker room.
Yeah,
you oversee everything.
It could be that dude was kind of crazy though. The shit he was doing, his little fucking manifesto, and
no, it probably came up, and he was like, "I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it."
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. You're still responsible for the team.
Yeah, I mean,
I say, don't take the bowl ban though.
You didn't know.
It's just like Sam. It's like Sam Pittman letting his locker room watch Polar Express. You know, he knew it was happening, and he still let him watch Polar Express at halftime.
Who cares? It's so stupid. That was stupid.
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things like what was it, the Purdue coach that just got fucking, like, he said he didn't know what was going on during practice, whatever, and he got fucking canned, and like, you know, now Purdue's a shithole. Like I said, Sean Payton's a big one to me. Sean Payton's a big one because it's like he said he didn't know, and
no way Sean Payton didn't know,
and there's no way that Jim Harbaugh didn't know. You could say the same thing. It's the same.
I definitely think I definitely think Sean knew. I mean, we've all been on teams. We've all we can put ourselves in like a coach's position. We know that everyone knows what's happening in the locker room.
There's no secrets. That team's a fucking family. There's no
Sean
secrets.
Payton's different. He's got the defensive coordinator or D-line coach telling players.
It was the defensive defensive coach. He just let it happen. Players.
That's a little bit different than grad assistant
watching film,
Michigan going to games.
Watching film, though, it's not just that he's recording.
Here's the thing:
I'm not saying together.
I'm not saying Harbaugh masterminded the thing, right?
How good could that film actually be, though? If he's sitting there with a fucking phone, recording
it doesn't matter, though. You're making excuses for it. It doesn't matter. They still broke the fucking code. That's what happened.
The past 2 years, they've been amazing.
There's no way that it went on for this long and it never got back to Harbaugh. There's no way that he didn't know that this happened at some point. It's been proven. Coaches know. I mean, hell, the whole reason that one of the whole reasons that the Astros thing got turned up was because a player on the A's on the Astros got traded to the A's, and when they were playing, they were like, "Hey, watch out, they do this," and that was one of the things that tipped the whole thing over.
And you're right, Luke. I don't think Harbaugh should be suspended. He shouldn't be. They should be banned. He could coach all he wants to. I don't give a shit if he coaches. The whole team should be equally punished.
You just want Texas to move up that one spot.
No, I just want. It's just you just can't cheat and get away with it. Like if you get caught, you have to pay.
I say leave the bowl ban alone. I say leave the bowl ban alone. If you're going to let the Astros keep their chance, and I know it's two different sports, two different leagues, but if the Astros get to keep their World Series, then let them go to the fucking bowl game and win with the Astros.
If Michigan would have won last year, I say keep the championship, but you ban them. You ban them for the future.
If it's caught before. Yeah, if it's caught before.
If you do it in season, you're just kind of fucking these kids over that had nothing to do with it.
They had everything to do with it.
The kids didn't. The kids didn't do shit.
They're watching
the fucking grad coach.
They knew.
Oh,
they're watching it though. But you're making an excuse for them. they're using it.
It's like you watching somebody.
watching it.
It's like you watching
this
somebody
480p.
murder something. If you watch Mark murder somebody, you're not going to say anything. You're just going to sit there and be like, "Well, I didn't do it."
No, good friend.
Well, it depends. If you're there with them,
But
if
you,
you're there with
but
them,
you
then
get
you're
in
just
trouble.
guilty.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you're there
exactly.
with them. Yeah.
The kids are there with him though,
Only
watching
Mark's
the
around.
film.
And guess what? And guess what? The kids will have and guess what? The kids will have every opportunity to transfer out of there and make a name somewhere else. They will allow to have a second transfer. They will waive that fucking second transfer for a situation like this because now
Did you
they
get
are
that
being
in writing
punished.
from the NCAA president?
No, because it's happened. Like when teams get in trouble, they give
No, you
players
can't. You
opportunities to
can't.
transfer.
You can't. If you're gonna sit here and say they knew about it, and you got to ban the team to punish the whole team,
Yeah.
you can't give them a transfer to go and play somewhere else.
Well,
You're
that's
giving
happened.
a
That's
workaround
happened.
from the ban. You can't
that
say
happened.
ban and punish them all, and then yeah, but they can go play somewhere else.
No,
As long
but
as
it's
Texas
not-
moves
it's
up
not-
one
it's
spot
not
this year. They
paying
can go play somewhere else.
You're not punishing the players. You're punishing the program. The players can leave. The program's going to suffer.
If the
players can do
players
it.
knew what was going on and went along with it, then they're just as guilty and they don't deserve to transfer out. They don't deserve.
It's
If they
not-
transfer out, you wait the 1 year.
It's not an if. Those kids knew. When they're sitting there watching film that's on a fucking sideline of a game,
In
that
480p.
yeah, it doesn't click in their mind like, wow, we probably shouldn't be watching this. Or how did we get this?
We have better equipment
or
than
they
this.
don't
This is
know better.
Michigan.
But even if they
didn't know better.
But okay, even if they didn't know better,
Come
they still
on.
did it, and that means the
You
program
think
has to
kids
suffer.
know every single little fucking rule. No, they're there.
No,
Fucking go
no,
play
you're-
football. That's
You're
fair.
right.
But the kids
You're right.
may
It's not
know.
their. No, you're right. It's not their job to know the rules, but the program still allowed it to happen. The program did it. It doesn't matter if Harbaugh allowed it or didn't allow or didn't know or did know. They did it. You have to pay the time. Like you have to pay the consequences.
after the investigation's done. After they finish the investigation.
No, I mean, I already made my point. If something happens, you suspend somebody with leave and you do the investigation. Just like it happens in the civilian world.
Don't be too surprised when you see Harbaugh on the sideline this week. I guess we'll see on Friday what happens in his appeal.
And that's fine. And Michigan, don't be surprised Michigan gets banned by the NCAA for 2 to 3 seasons neither.
I'm not a Michigan fan. I don't give a fuck.
Well, that's what should happen, though. I mean, you
It'll
get
be 2
caught, you get
years.
caught, but
Actually, it's so late. It might be 3, but I want to say it'll be 2 because this is probably their best chances of winning a national championship in I don't even know how long. And this is going to be the one that stings the most. And this is going to be the one they want to make him pay next year to cripple the program a little bit. And then after that,
I
start
think
rebuilding.
Harbaugh's gone after the season anyways, no matter what happens.
And for people to say that the Big Ten is, because I've heard it in one of my chats, they said, "Oh well, Big Ten's fucking Michigan." No, they're not. They're not. They're not at all. They are allowing Michigan to still play in the Big Ten championship, still allowed to fucking go to the playoffs. They are only punishing him for game days. It's all they're doing. He's still allowed. They don't want Harbaugh to be suspended. That's money. That's money to the Big Ten. They don't want Harbaugh and Michigan to miss out. That hurts their wallets. The Big Ten. This is them saving face, so the NCAA does not step in down the road. Like, well, we tried. That's what they're gonna say. We tried.
That's why they gave him such an easy suspension. You can still coach. You can still be around the team. Just
You can still
on
make us
game day,
money.
on game day, you can't be on the sideline.
You could travel with them too if you want to. You just can't be there. You just have to stay at the hotel if you're on the road.
And
suspension should be full force. He shouldn't be allowed around the team. That's any sport, anywhere. When you get suspended from the league, you're not allowed in team facilities, practices, anything.
Michigan punished Harbaugh more severely in the beginning of the season for his little fucking tipping a waiter or waitress than the Big Ten did for a cheating scandal.
well, yeah,
Let
but
that soak in.
because the first
Yeah, you
3
missed that last
games,
week.
the first 3 games were fucking nothing. That's why they
Yeah.
weren't worried about those games.
How do you get in trouble for tipping?
It's
'Cause
during COVID.
he-
They weren't allowed to see recruits, and you're also
paid
not
for-
allowed to pay for anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he put himself in a bad
But
situation.
he tipped the waitress on a $0 charge.
Hey, we already talked about it. He shouldn't have been there. Just like you shouldn't be in a room with prostitutes.
Yep, you're putting yourself in a
well,
bad
that's not
situation.
true. You can be
If
in
you
a room with
if you
prostitutes.
don't pay a prostitute, it's not illegal.
No, if you don't pay a prostitute for sex. I paid that hooker to come over and fix my stove, damn it. We hit it off. It was a good time.
But
Stove
Yeah,
never
there's
did
gonna
get
be-
fixed. We got distracted.
there's going to be a lot of situations going on in Michigan. And let's get back to the playoff because me, Doc, Chris, you weren't here last night, but me, Doc, and Luke, we were off air, and Doc wanted to save it. So I did text it in the chat. I don't know between shitting your brains out if you read it. The committee finally seems confident on something. So they first said eye test is why Georgia's number one and why the rest of the undefeateds are where they are. And then before the committee got on, the chairman, Kirk Herbstreit, was starting to lean like what you and Luke said. How long can Texas ride off these one-score games while Alabama's winning by 2 scores over some decent schools, even though the resume currently favors Texas, but the wins, the style points definitely go to Alabama. I agree with you. So as the committee was getting off, they straight up said, "Oh, we heard your conversation earlier. Head-to-head does matter." So I think that kind of answers our question of what they're looking at. Now, the context of the story was how long can Texas ride off in that? And they're saying it matters. So that's very interesting. Now, that if that's the truth, then Alabama would need potentially us, if we do win, they would need like Florida State or like Iowa to upset the Big Ten, like Michigan, Ohio State. So like it sounds like Alabama might need some help along with beating Georgia.
So, well, and here's the thing: head to head. Well, I
Well,
don't.
no, hold on.
I don't because they came out and said it. But here's the thing about
chairman said it.
Here's the thing about head to head.
For right now.
No, that's not what he said. That's not what he said.
All he said is head matters.
Okay,
because the story, the context was there. You didn't hear. You're missing the conversation. Kirk said that
the SEC beats number 1 Georgia.
You're missing the story.
Texas, no matter what.
No, okay. So
they said.
Okay, head-to-head matters, right? So if Georgia and Alabama make it to the championship game, Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama has the head-to-head against Georgia, Alabama's in, Georgia's out. Plain and simple. Head-to-head matters. So then Texas would make it as well then.
That's tough. What was Bama's rank when you guys beat him? What was Bama's rank? If it comes down to Texas rank, what was Bama's rank when you guys beat him? 3. Okay, so if Bama beats Georgia, what is Georgia's rank? The head-to-head outweighs that a little bit more.
They were probably number 1 at that point too.
But the problem is this, Chris, is that if it comes down to Georgia or Bama and Texas, because if they beat Georgia, Florida State wins, the Big Ten wins, and Washington or Oregon wins, there's your 3. Now you're looking, or unless they want to put Georgia or Bama over Oregon with Texas over Oregon, and Oregon gets fucked. But let's say Washington beats Oregon, it comes down to Texas and Alabama. Georgia's out. Yeah. Georgia's done. Georgia is completely done in that conversation.
But if Bama
so you are saying because you beat Bama and Bama beat Georgia, you essentially beat Georgia, so you should be in the playoff.
According to what the committee said, head-to-head.
Okay, but here's what you need to understand. Okay, so here's something that you need to understand though with head-to-head, right? Head-to-head matters. Did they give any kind of context or
yes
on a 10-point scale? We look at head-to-head for 6 of those points. We look at this for that.
Yeah, they did. They actually did because the conversation with Kirk. So the conversation with Kirk Herbstreit, Joey Galloway, Greg McElroy, and Reese Davis was, how long can Texas keep doing what they're doing and stay ahead of Alabama? They said eventually the committee is going to have to think about putting Alabama over Texas. That's when the conversation with those 4 stopped. The committee chairman came in, spewed his nonsense about Georgia and Ohio State, why Georgia's there, eye test, and then he said, by the way, we heard your guys' conversation. Head-to-head does matter. So they're talking about how long can Texas do this, and he said head-to-head does matter.
Okay, so hang on. Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase. So he said, by the way, I heard your conversation, head-to-head does matter. Do you expand on that at all? Because I asked you a question, and you said that he did, and he didn't. If that's all he said was head-to-head matters,
because
I agree with you. Head-to-head matters. But if Texas is winning by 1 score, if Texas beats Alabama and Texas wins the next 10 weeks by 1 score and Alabama wins the next 10 weeks by 3 scores,
it doesn't matter. It's what the committee said. Because Kirk Herbstreit straight up asked, how long can head-to-head matter?
You're missing what I'm saying, though.
No, I get what you're saying, but the context is right there. If Kirk Herbstreit asks a question before the committee chairman comes on and says, how long can head-to-head last for Texas and Alabama, and then the committee chair says, we heard the conversation, and it is head-to-head that does matter, that is him answering Kirk's question. That's what he said.
I agree. But still, we don't know to what extent they're using that, right? Because Texas can come out next week, Iowa State, and win by 3. Alabama can come out and win by 55. Are we really going to underplay a 55-point win for Alabama because Texas beat them head-to-head? Iowa State is good. They're not that good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, their 55-point win this week's against a true cupcake team. Alabama is playing like
okay, well,
that
takes a little bit off. But
okay,
Now say they
Yeah,
beat
so-
Auburn. They beat
But
Auburn.
you get
by
my point,
55.
though. You get my point.
But you don't respect Auburn, though.
I
That's the thing.
Auburn's not
also,
bad.
You said a couple weeks ago
also,
they're shit. You said they're not that good.
I mean, they're not
Don't
the
change.
best team.
Don't change your argument. Don't change it now to justify it for Alabama. You said 2 weeks ago. You said 2 weeks ago Auburn has no shot and they're not that good. They're overrated for their wins.
listen.
So
Also,
don't sit here
people
and
come
say
out.
that. Yes,
They
you
don't have
have.
a
We
shot.
talked off
People come out on live TV, and they make comments to get people riled up and all that stuff. I'm not saying head to head don't matter. I think it does, but it has to work to an extent. Eventually, it's got to run out of juice. Eventually, there's got to be just a clear difference in skill, and that's.
And Sarkisian,
I don't know. That's it.
And this is not to be biased. It could be any team that did it. For a team to go into Tuscaloosa and win by double digits that no other team's ever done. Not saying it. I'm not saying
In
it's the
week
best
2?
win of the season. It doesn't matter. It's never been done for Alabama history with Nick Saban. It doesn't matter which week 1, week fucking 13.
Nobody's
It's
ever
never been done.
gone into Tuscaloosa and won by
Tuscaloosa
two
won by
scores.
with Nick Saban as the head coach. No, it's never been done. It's the first time under Nick Saban. So he has, that Georgia and Alabama. Yeah, that's a great win. You can argue that's the best win of the season. You can argue a team going into Alabama at night, winning by 10 points is also the best win too. You can argue Washington beating Oregon at home is the best win. So Sarkisian does have, like, when he's talking, he does have a point. I'm not saying it's best win. Maybe at the moment it might be the best win, but now down the road, what's it going to come into? But just based on what the committee said, now the context was, how long can Texas do it? How long can head-to-head matter? And then when the committee chair straight up says head-to-head does matter, that's him answering Kirk's question. That's what Kirk
not
asked.
Answering the question. That's not answering the question.
No, it does.
Nobody
It
disagrees.
does to an extent. It does to an extent
Nobody
because it tells them
disagrees.
the
It does
head-to-head
matter.
does matter. But I think what Mark is hearing in that is, as long as they win out, Texas will be ahead because the head-to-head matters. Like, the head-to-head matters, but again, we don't know to what extent. I asked you if he said it, and he really didn't. He really didn't. Let's be honest. And I think what you're looking at is the Texas beat Bama, so if Bama beats Georgia, Texas beats Georgia because they beat Bama. And in reality, what you're looking at, because teams – okay.
Georgia's eliminated. Well, Georgia's eliminated. They're already eliminated because they didn't win their conference. They have the same record as Texas and Alabama, and they didn't win, so they're out. They're
you
done.
cannot take away from the fact that teams evolved throughout the year. Jalen Milroe was dog shit in the beginning of the year.
He got benched after that game.
He's gotten significantly better as the season has gone on. And if they beat Georgia in the championship, and it's probably going to be in Georgia or in a neutral site, but
it's in Georgia, but it's the neutral site because it's in Atlanta.
Yeah, so it's going to be in Georgia. Either way, it's going to be a packed house. Any conference championship, it don't matter. But it's going to be a packed house.
Tickets, though,
and if Alabama beats Georgia, knocking off the number 1 team, because what were you guys ranked when you beat Bama?
We were 12.
Or 12? So 12 beat 3, and Alabama's 8 right now?
They beat 8, beat 1.
So 12
and
beat 3.
it wasn't neutral site. We went into a environment that's strictly Alabama with our little bit of fans that we can.
Wait a minute.
You
Did
said
the committee president come out? Did the committee president come out and say where you win, where you play matters?
Well, he said head-to-head matters. So I mean,
he said head-to-head. Did he say where?
You play? Well, that head-to-head doesn't mean head-to-head.
So are you telling me that if you won that game in Texas, it's not as big of a deal?
I think it's still a big deal.
I think it's still. I think it's the same deal. I think it's the same deal. I don't give a shit where you win.
And the committee's going to say the same thing. And what happens if we go beat Oklahoma? Who
Ohio
right now
State went into Notre Dame and won at night. That's like unheard of.
What happens if OU makes it inside the top 10 before the season's over and we beat them fucking pretty easily? We just beat a top 10 team.
Oh, you're probably going to be a 3-loss team before they even get to the Big 12.
You're saying probably.
My point is, I'm not taking away from Texas' win. Texas had a great win over Oklahoma. But if Bama comes in and beats Georgia by the same score, because we'll play it fair, right? If Bama comes in and beats Georgia by the same score, knocking off a number 1 team as a number 8, in my opinion, is a bigger win than the 12 knocking off the 3.
But we beat
especially them. A team that's been habitually number 1. That's
maybe Alabama should have done their job.
That's why I think you're looking at the head-to-head as, since Bama beat Georgia and we beat Bama, we beat Georgia, we're better.
Prime example,
Doc.
That's not
all head-to-head is.
Prime example, Doc. Cincinnati beat the Fighting Irish in 2021. The Irish were number 5. Cincinnati was number 4. The Irish looked good the rest of the season. The Bearcats struggled towards the end of the season. They had some close wins, but they beat the Fighting Irish. They gave it to them because they had no chance of putting the Irish in because they beat the Fighting Irish. Head-to-head has happened once this year or in the playoff committee era, and that is the 2021 season.
But that's a deciding factor between those two teams. There's so much more going into it.
Cincinnati got in with one loss. They were undefeated. A little bit different.
But they would have been over the Irish even with one loss.
They would not have won in.
I am going to say I agree head-to-head matters. I mean, it doesn't even matter if I agree or not because the committee said it does, and I agree that it should. But if Bama comes in and beats Georgia, and neutral site or not, it's in Georgia, so it's the same as going into Tuscaloosa and beating Alabama.
It's neutral site. You get 50% of the tickets. There's not more Georgia fans than Alabama fans there. It's the same amount of fans. They split it.
Who gets 50% of the tickets?
Yes, they do. Fans. It's not. It's
I guarantee I can go on Ticketmaster and go buy tickets.
I was going to say, so if I go on Ticketmaster right now and buy that ticket, do I go under Alabama or do I go under Georgia? Asking for a friend.
They split it. They allow the same amount of student section. Well, they allow the same amount of student section.
Yeah, the student section. But
Bama,
teams have teams have student sections regardless for visiting teams?
And how far is Tuscaloosa from
now?
Atlanta
Significantly
anyways? Smaller,
but they, it's a little more regulated in the championship games. But regardless, I don't even give a shit about the neutral site. In my opinion, if Alabama beats Georgia, that is a bigger win for Alabama than Texas beating Alabama because they knocked off the team that has been number one all fucking year.
All 3 years.
Two-time champions too.
Yeah, they'd be the first team to hand Georgia a loss in 3 years.
You can't sit there and say what Georgia did 2021 and 2022.
Why?
You can't.
No, but I'm saying this year.
You can't say what Alabama did in week 2.
No, you're right. You're right. But no other teams beat Alabama this year in Alabama at all, or Alabama.
I don't understand how you look at it. I don't understand how you look at it like a team can't. But I don't understand how you look at it like you're so hard up on head-to-head, like a team can't improve throughout the year and finish above you
because head-to-head matters. It's not just Alabama and Texas. It also applies to Michigan, Ohio State too.
I agree.
Because if the Big Ten,
I agree that head-to-head matters. But if you guys win, and obviously it didn't happen, but if you guys win out every game, so that happened week 2, you win out every week for the rest of the year and win by 7, or you had the one loss against Oklahoma. Every other game you win by a score or less, and Alabama wins by 2 scores or more.
Well, you guys go by resume too.
That's what matters Luke to a point.
Oh, well, Luke's mentioned resume several thousand times in our chats. Guess who has a better resume? So that means we're playing harder teams. We have the better resume at the moment. So
that's why there's so much that goes into it, dude.
So,
there's so much that goes into it.
Right. So style points do matter too.
So we have
winning by field goals is not.
But that makes Alabama look worse than if they couldn't do that. They couldn't beat us, and we're barely surviving. Yeah,
you cannot argue that Alabama looks completely different than they did when they played Texas.
I am going to tell you right now, there is no way in hell, unless there's a weird shakeup on the Alabama side of the conference where the SEC championship has like a 8-3 team going into the championship. If it is a one-loss team versus a one-loss team or versus an undefeated, Georgia or Alabama is making the playoff. There's no way an SEC team is not making the playoff.
There's definitely a way. It's just how hard are the committee going to be off the SEC if that happens. Now, this is also doesn't apply to Texas and Alabama. This can apply to Michigan, Ohio State, because we mentioned it. It's very unlikely that Iowa beats Michigan or Ohio State. But if they beat them and it comes down to like Texas fucks up and Bama loses to Georgia and Washington beats Oregon, whatever, and that last spot comes down to the Big Ten, they're going to put the Big Ten loser, like they did last year with TCU in the Big 12, over that other team because they did beat them. That also applies to the Big Ten as well. It's not just Texas and Alabama. It's Michigan, Ohio State, too. If somehow Iowa upsets Michigan or Ohio State.
I just don't want you to get your hopes up too high, Mark, because I feel like we're going to come in after the final selection and you're going to be just fuming that Texas didn't make it when Bama beats Georgia or some dumb shit happens.
Because Georgia's going to beat Bama. I'm not. My hopes aren't high. I think Georgia is going to go into Atlanta. I think they're going to beat Alabama. I'm more hoping now that for some reason Florida State loses, or hopefully Iowa upsets fucking the Big Ten.
If Florida loses to Florida, and we're going head to head, Florida deserves a spot in that football playoff.
You sound like a child now because Florida's got 3 or 4 losses. They're not getting in the playoffs. They're not even in the SEC championship. Not even near the SEC championship. So you have to still you still have to be meaning. You have to have a meaningful like record.
Any given Saturday, matters. Georgia and Alabama could both lose out.
They could, and if Georgia loses to Tennessee this week, then that Alabama win over Georgia doesn't mean as much. So that also, you better hope that Bama needs Georgia. Bama needs Georgia to win out. Bama needs Georgia to go into that game 12-0.
I know
they really do. So
Texas didn't need to beat an undefeated.
And that's what that made my point exactly.
Georgia
loses.
No, because I think head-to-head is going to be the deciding factor if it comes down to it. That's why we should be. Yeah, that makes Bama.
Then Bama beats Georgia, and that makes Bama's win a lot less than what your guys' win was. So then you guys are a lot more front runner. But again, I'm not saying I agree head to head matters. I mean the committee said it. I agree that there is a huge play with it, but it's like I said that use a 10-point system, like 4 points head to head, 4 points for style.
I wish they would say it.
For resume. You know what I mean?
I wish they would say it.
We don't know what extent that they're rating all that because head to head does matter, but there's so many other things that happen throughout the year that could adjust that slider just a little bit. Or hey, they maxed out here, but they really slipped here.
And I do think that in the most recent years, this is probably the hardest year that the committees had to rank teams too. I really do. I think it's a very tough year because, like Lucas said, there's going to be a fan base possibly too that are going to be really butthurt when it comes down to after conference championship weekend.
James Madison.
Well, they fucked themselves because they're
not even getting a bowl game.
Do they deserve to be in the playoff though? Let's be real.
Well, they're not even getting a bowl game.
Yeah, they don't get a bowl game at all.
This year or next year.
I think it's a stupid rule, but I mean that's near or there, I guess. I don't think
I agree, especially because part of the stipulation of coming to Division I is you have to generate so much money through your booster or through your athletic program, and taking that bowl game away takes a lot of that money out.
I mean, I don't think that they would be. I don't think that would be near the top 4. I think they might be. I mean, are they even ranked? I mean, so are they even ranking them at all?
Not in the playoffs.
AP is
not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What does AP have them?
18.
I think it's
so usually the two are around. So they'd probably be around the top 15. That's where James Madison would be. So, I mean,
well, give them an asterisk, Luke. National champs.
What conference? Well, if they claim it,
they're undefeated national champs.
If that data website gives it to them,
they have to have one affiliation to claim them. As long as one person claims them as a natty,
I'm doing it.
Then they can.
If they win out, I'm doing it.
Well, it has to be accredited person that goes in the.
It has to be accredited affiliation.
So
I mean the difference.
NCAA. So NCAA doesn't claim those guys as national, because it hasn't just been. So Alabama, like I said, it was the year that they got blown out by Clemson when Trevor Lawrence won his championship. Clemson blew the shit out of them, but that same site that gave UCF their little fucking national champions still said Alabama was the number 1 team, even though they just got rattled in the college championship by 3 scores. So that's where it lost credits to me a little bit. I was like, you can't sit there and say Alabama got blown out.
We're going to see how much head-to-head matters next summer when NC2A 24 comes out.
Chris will be on it. I'll be on it.
Oh, I'll be all over it. I might bring the stream back. I might bring Twitch back.
You might actually be a good dynasty owner on it.
Yep. I don't know how you think I'm not right now. I'm in the hunt, dude.
No, Luke's got the move of the year. Luke got the move of the year this morning when I saw J.K. Dobbins getting picked up, getting ready for the future.
I've been spotting him for a little bit. He's been on the bench. I mean,
he's a Raven.
Of
course, he's.
He won't be a Raven next year.
He
won't be a Raven next year though.
Probably
gone.
He probably plays somewhere though.
He'll probably play in Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas could use him. Tony Pollard looks like shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's been rehabbing with it. He's been rehabbing with Aaron Rodgers. So
he can stay looking like shit when CeeDee Lamb keep getting me 40 points a game.
Aaron Rodgers loves J.K. Dobbins. He talks about him every fucking week, it seems like, when he's on there. He's like, my boy J.K.
Do they need another running back in New York?
Well, they just cut Michael Carter. And Michael Carter's on the Cardinals. Cardinals claimed him. The second worst team and or the third worst team, whatever it is. They were
top of the waiver wire, dude. Top of the waiver wire.
What the fuck are they going to do? Like they're there making the playoffs, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
Because they didn't have an answer when fucking James Conner went down.
Well, Connor's back though.
Yeah, but he might rough up again.
Yeah, he could. I mean, I was hoping he'd go because I have him in Dynasty. I was hoping that he would maybe go to like a contender or something like that. That would need like a second running back. I was hoping.
Chris, we're gonna have to figure out a way to chat next year because there ain't gonna be no more Call of Duty. It's just gonna be NC2A all day, every day.
It'll be cross.
It should be crossplay.
If you're playing though, like if you're playing against each other,
then we'll just hop on
like a party.
We'll hop on Discord.
Yeah, we'll have to do something. I think I'm gonna start. Who are you gonna start with? Are you doing a dynasty?
Fuck yeah, I'll probably do James Madison.
Ooh, I like it.
I'm thinking doing Tulane and actually getting them that win they should have had earlier.
Yeah, you fucking would start with a ranked team, you son of a bitch.
James Madison's ranked.
I was thinking about going back to who I used in the old days in 14.
Jordan Love and Utah State.
Utah State, baby. Fucking
Utah
loved
State.
me some Utah State.
Well, Doc,
I started.
Doc does the coaching. Yeah, he starts as a coach though.
Yeah, I started as a
That's what he
coordinator.
does.
I started as a coordinator. And I remembered I ran a game. First 2 plays of the season were fumbles. Third play was a run for like -1, and the fourth play of the season was a fucking pick. And the first fumble was on the kickoff, by the way. So 3 of the first 4 plays of the season. Yeah, 3 of the first 4 plays of the season were turnovers. It was great. We loved that start.
Are the players going to have their names in the game with NIL being a thing now?
I think
so.
so.
Generate names. I don't have to fucking. Well, I know the Irish were talking about not being in the game.
I never generated names. You go in and download the roster. That was the year Clinton Dix was in there, dude. I didn't think that shit was real.
Probably start up with Colorado. Do what Prime can't do.
I might go to Georgia State and finish what Prime started. Or was it
Jackson
State. Excuse me.
I think they're doing pretty good this year too, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Why don't you pick up FAMU? The Rattlers.
Florida A&M.
Rattlers.
Yeah. FAMU.
I'm gonna go to LSU and do a BK can't do. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to fucking LSU. I'm getting that fucker out of there, and I'm taking over the Tigers.
I'm going to Alabama, and I'm burning that fucking program to the ground.
So every time I score a touchdown, I can say, "Go Tigers!" I'm fucking getting aim. My guy Coach O too. That's my fucking name. I'm bringing back Coach O.
I'm starting out burning Nick Saban. I'm pushing him out the door, and then I am going to tank that fucking program. They won't see a recruit for the next 25 years.
Jesus. Yeah, start as Alabama, fucking trade away Nick Saban, and then fucking start a new franchise.
Yeah. I'm getting
do what I had to do.
Yeah, we're tanking. Oh, you want to come for a draft and TV exposure? Y'all went 0-11 the first 4 years before you got fired.
I wonder if they're gonna do NIL deals. How they're gonna play that out.
I just hope they bring back the recruiting style and the coaching carousel. And I hope the engine is significantly different from Madden like it was in the previous games.
Like I hope they do. I hope they do the road to glory too. The high school, like come and start from high school, and then doing a little playoff run, and then
they have to do.
Yeah, that was all. Yeah, that was awesome.
I hope it's not. Oh, I got to play that on my other account too because I'm banned on EA.
I'm going to be a quarterback. I'm going to do Arch Man you can't do.
Talking trash. Talking trash. Yeah, they don't like trash talking.
I'm still banned on Call of Duty.
I tell people they suck and they don't like that.
Call of Duty's got me like. I think Call of Duty's got me like for like 8 30-day suspensions. They got me on like a 15-day suspension.
What do you do to earn a 30-day suspension, Mark?
Probably because his fucking mic is so bad that it echoes so hard. Call of Duty's like.
It up. This dude's saying it 4 times. This guy called him a bitch 4 times in a second.
Yeah.
I guess saying fuck you as soon as I die, because I die a lot in that game. It's probably
and then you multiply it times the number of echoes. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah,
I figured out by the way how to fix your echo.
Don't play.
Because I started having the same problem. No, I started having the same problem. It's the mic input level. You have to adjust that because I started having the same shit, and I had to go in there and adjust mine. I don't know what happened.
When we play the new Call of Duty in December, before I travel. Speaking of that, boys, this is going to be our last show for 2 weeks. We won't be on next week, so hope you guys enjoy a good Thanksgiving weekend as well. I like to say that.
Same to
Happy
you,
Thanksgiving.
So we're getting on tonight then?
Probably not.
We
no.
could run a couple.
We could run a couple.
I don't have to be in class until 10.
Are you playing, Chris?
Yeah.
We haven't done it in a long time. I've been out for a couple weeks. We haven't done it in a long time. We got to do it for old time's sake.
You got to wait like an hour for this to download anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I won't.
And we don't have any notes.
This
do
is
we have a show
college,
tomorrow
so
night?
this is college, so I'll export tomorrow during lunch, and then I'll post it when I get home tomorrow night.
Yeah, and you don't even have any notes to do for tomorrow's show, and we're off for 2 weeks. So
I'm still waiting for Chris. Chris over here sending me fake ass spreads too. I'm like, what the fuck spreads are these?
The spreads are literally what I pulled from ESPN as I was texting you. So those were the updated spreads.
Chris, what's your opinion on when we do the scores? Do we want to continue? Because Mark made a good point about people that are doing over under, but I don't think that many people are listening to us for over under betting. Do we want to keep giving scores, or do we just want to take the team and either cover the spread or don't cover, like Seahawks to win, but the Ravens will cover the spread?
See, Doc also leaves some context. Doc's coming out some context too. He's like, well, it takes a little time to do. It's like, well, if you write your scores down before the game, you don't have to sit there and think about it.
I don't do that shit.
I just think about it. All right, let's end the show and then we can talk about it.
Hey, but Sean Watson, boys, he's out for the year. Shoulder injury.
Finally broke his bone.
Finally broke his pussy.
Rest in peace to Cleveland Browns, man. They had
DTR's the future, baby. Let's go.
Rest in peace to Jimbo Fisher as well.
Oh, what a fucking flex. $163 million at the game.
I think
just looking at him like, where do you think this is fucking? The Pat McAfee said, I was watching the clip, where do you think this is going? And then fired his ass after the game. He was like, shit. Now, Pat's like, if I win this game by 40, no way they fire me, right?
God.
Jimbo's got the best job in the world right now. Fired head coach.
He's going to make like $75 million.
$77 million.
$7 million a year for 8 years.
That's what that 160 plus million payout or booster club donation was. They're like, we got to pay Jimbo, man. We got to get this guy. We got to pay the next guy.
Chris said, "Yeah, those guys wrote a check at halftime." I was like, "No fucking way, they did that shit right at halftime."
No, they bought him. They were staring right at Jimbo.
That's for
they were staring right at Jimbo. Like
they gave him enough to fire him and to hire the next coach.
Yep. No, very wise move. Very, very sound investment.
A lot of names out there that are being.
I want to know who is an alum of A&M that can donate that kind of money.
Dan Campbell.
Because my community college from back home calls me.
That's all the money.
My community college from back home calls me for my fucking, after my one semester that I did looking for donations. I got a quarter for you, dude. You're calling the wrong alum, dude.
They already asked Dabo if he was going to come take it, and he ignored that question quick.
No, he pushed it to the side. I think Dabo is probably one of the highest ones to go.
Clemson's on a down run, dude.
Lane Kiffin's the other one too.
I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to leave Ole Miss.
That money recruits will come to A&M for Lane Kiffin.
That's Ole Miss come to the SIP then.
Ole Miss has a team though.
Lane Kiffin can build up all. What do you think he just did with Ole Miss? Ole Miss he built them back up a little bit. It wasn't like they were loaded when they got there.
Right. So you think he wants to do that all over again? No. Dabo Swinney is a prime time for him to go because Clemson's going downhill. I would love to see primetime go.
If Lane Kiffin, primetime ain't going anytime soon because he can't get his kids to go there. But Lane Kiffin goes to A&M. Those Texas recruits that go to Texas and OU and a couple other schools, A&M can steal some of them with Lane Kiffin. That's the thing, though.
Lane Kiffin's already in the SEC. He left Florida, what was it, FIU or whatever, to come to the SEC.
It's not the first time the SEC switched. The Florida coach, the Mullen switched. He went from
look how well that fucking. panned
Well, he's
out.
also not a good coach though. That's a difference.
think-
He's
He's still getting paid too. He's living a good life.
Yeah, I think
Coaching
Dabo.
carousel
I
is going to
think
be good this year.
I
He's
think
still getting
Dabo's
paid.
a big one because Clemson's on the down, and Clemson's also riding Dabo off. No one's backing Dabo.
and Dan Campbell. That name should just. I get it. He's alumni there, but he's rocking and rolling in Detroit. I mean, I guess they might pay him more than Detroit, but he's not having a bad career right now. There's no way he leaves the NFL.
That'd be very interesting if he actually makes the jump. Hey,
I think
Harbaugh.
he's happy.
Alum or not, I can't see him doing it.
But
Now with the
Harbaugh
success that he's
got
got.
fired though. Harbaugh got
Huh?
fired. That was different. He didn't just leave the 49ers. They fired him.
No. I mean, Harbaugh can come down to fucking.
He's talking about
When he
he's
gets
talking
fired
about-
from
yeah,
Michigan.
You're talking about you're talking about
Yeah.
Jim switching.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's still ongoing investigations for his recruiting thing, so he can still get suspended by the NCAA for his recruiting stuff. So he's in a Pete Carroll situation at the moment. So
No, the recruiting
He
stuff
can
is
still
what's
get-
going to be a bowl ban because they didn't when did they suspend the Ohio coach for the recruiting stuff, or did they just do the bowl ban?
Tressel got fired though. So I think he resigned, but Ohio State was going to fire him, and then they
Well, that's
still banned
because
him
that's because
anyways.
it fucked with the program. That's what I'm saying though. But did he get suspended? Because
No,
the
'cause he was already
recruiting
caught. No,
infractions is
'cause
where
he-
you start to see bans and everything because that's
no,
a
he didn't get
program
suspended
wide
because
thing.
he left before any punishment came out. He did what Pete Carroll did essentially. You can't suspend a guy if he's it's like Pete Carroll. You can't suspend him if he's gone. If he's not in the NCAA, you
can.
can't do anything to him.
You
Yeah,
can.
when he
Why
comes
can't you?
back. Yeah, when he comes back, you'll suspend him. But if he's not actively the coach, he can't. He's not going to get suspended.
No,
He's
because
not-
you could
he's
still
not
suspend him for a
employed.
year to stop him from getting a head coaching job somewhere else in the NCAA. You could still
They're
suspend
not
him.
going to. Pete Carroll didn't get suspended. They're not going to waste their time on a guy that's not in the world of college football anymore. They moved on. They suspended the team. They fucking punished the team, which they should do to Michigan. By
They
the way.
probably wouldn't. Yeah, they probably wouldn't impose a suspension until like, hey,
he
we're
came
looking
back.
at hiring him, and now they're not even came back. I'm saying like if he went to a new program the next week,
Oh yeah, man.
and they're like,
I meant
okay,
came
now
back
we're
to
gonna
coach,
fucking now we're gonna
Urban
put
Meyer,
this
does he
suspension.
count? Does A&M pay him? You know, he likes the money. I mean, Urban Meyer could be another name for A&M too.
No.
Dude, I don't know because after that
He's
whole
a college coach. He's a college coach.
He
not Jackson.
is.
He's not an NFL coach.
He is, but after the shit in Jacksonville and the health issues that he had leaving Ohio State, I was honestly shocked he went to the NFL after the health problems that he was having. I think he's living the cush life in the booth or in the halftime shows or whatever he's doing.
A lot of things to worry about. A lot of big games coming up this weekend. Boys, have a good Thanksgiving weekend. Stuff your faces with some good old turkey, some stuffing, some fucking mashed potatoes, and some pie.
Stuff my face.
Enjoy
with
the
some
Not the
pie,
only
dude.
thing I'll be stuffing.
Man,
Heard
boy,
that? I'll be stuffing that turducken.
you guys have fun with that. Luke, enjoy Thanksgiving. Same with you, Chris and Luke or Doc. This is All About the Balls podcast, and we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Sack House.